This is Scored to Death Radio from the Cinematic Sound Radio Network. My name is J. Blake Fischera. I'm the author of the books Scored to Death, Conversations with Some of Horror's Greatest Composers, and Scored to Death 2, More Conversations with Some of Horror's Greatest Composers, as well as the director of the upcoming documentary Scored to Death, The Dark Art of Scary Movie Music. In our last two episodes of the show, we explored movie songs. Today, we will be exploring and celebrating the film score work of artists and bands who are primarily known for their work in rock music. Some of them have only scored one or two films, while others have scored several. Some of the following pieces will reflect their rock sensibilities, while others feel more like traditional classical film scoring. And, in a few cases, these rock stars collaborated with seasoned film music composers to create a unique hybrid of styles. Though we may not be focusing on horror this week, this is still Scored to Death Radio after all. So let's kick off the show with some music from a few Italian horror movie gems. We just heard a collection of music cues by the late, great Keith Emerson, beginning with Mark's Discovery, Cigarettes, Ices, etc., and Bookbinder's Delight from the 1980 Dario Argento film Inferno, followed by Tonight Is Not Your Night Reprise from the 1984 Lucio Fulci film Murder Rock. Oddly enough, that theme is actually not a reprise of Tonight Is Not Your Night, but instead more of a reprise of a track called Don't Go in the Shower. We then heard The Church, main theme from the 1989 Michele Soavi film The Church, which was produced by Dario Argento. And the original score is actually a bit of a hybrid of tracks from both Goblin and Keith Emerson. We then heard Theme for Floy from Harmageddon, 1983, based on the manga comic Genma Wars, directed by Rintaro, who also directed the 2001 film Metropolis and the 1993 classic anime film Ninja Scroll. And we wrapped up this block with a few cues from Nighthawks, 1981, directed by Bruce Malmuth. We heard Mean Stalkin' and The Chase. Of course, Emerson is best known for his progressive rock work with the band Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And it was during an ELP concert that Dario Argento witnessed Emerson stabbing knives into the spaces between the keys of his Hammond organ to create wild sonic effects. It was then that Argento decided that Emerson needed to be the one to score the music for his 1980 film Inferno, which began what was a somewhat fruitful and interesting film composing career for the legendary prog rocker. Our next block of music comes from a controversial sci-fi epic by one of cinema's most unique filmmakers and one of the 1980s' softest rock bands.
The Duke will die before these eyes, and he'll know that it is I, then Vladimir Harkonnen, who encompasses his doom.
That was main title, First Attack, Trip to Arrakis, The Floating Man, parentheses The Baron, and Final Dream, all from the band Toto's score for David Lynch's 1984 film adaptation of Frank Herbert's iconic sci-fi novel Dune. Though the score is credited to the band, if you look at the writing credits, it is clear that keyboardist David Paich was the driving composing force for it. One thing worth noting is the third cue we heard, Trip to Arrakis, was co-composed by David Paich and James Newton Howard, and I believe this was Howard's first film music credit. Now let's jump from one of the 80s' most epic films to one of rock's most epic bands.
You are to be prepared for your wedding.
I'm lost, Aura. Nothing can save me now.
Flash!
General Gala, Flash Gordon approaching.
What do you mean? Flash Gordon approach.
On a Hawkman rocket cycle. Shall I inform His Majesty?
Imbecile! The Emperor would shoot you for interrupting his wedding with this news. Fire when Gordon's in range.
Flash!
Dispatch War Rocket Ajax to bring back his body.
Charge the boosters.
Flash Gordon in range, Captain.
Fire!
Voltan! Our trap plane worked! They'll follow me for sure!
Good! Stand by, my Hawkmen! Fire capacitors. They're trying to flush you out! Okay, let's go in after them. Good. They're coming through!
There's no time for us. There's no place for us. What is this thing that fills our dreams, yet slips away from us? Who wants to live forever? Who wants to live forever? There's no chance for us. It's all decided for us.
This is Score to Death Radio from the Cinematic Sound Radio Network. And that, of course, was music from the rock band Queen. We bookended that block with two versions of the song Who Wants to Live Forever, written by Queen guitarist and not the Australian film composer Brian May, for the 1986 film Highlander, directed by Russell Mulcahy. Queen didn't do the Highlander score, but it did lend a handful of songs to the soundtrack, including this one. The film score was composed by the late Michael Kamen. First, we heard an original instrumental demo version of Who Wants to Live Forever, and we closed the set with the version of the song the way it is featured within the film, ending with an incredible Michael Kamen orchestral arrangement. I wanted to include it because though Queen didn't compose the film's score, May's song was so beautiful, and in Kamen's hands it became one of the film's and the whole series' most memorable and effective musical themes. We then heard The Kiss, Aura Resurrects Flash, then Escape from the Swamp, Flash to the Rescue, and finally Voltan's theme, Attack of the Hawkmen, from the 1980 sci-fi adventure film Flash Gordon, directed by Michael Hodges and produced by Dino De Laurentiis. In this case, the score was composed by the band Queen, with each member writing separate cues and some classical orchestration assistance by composer Howard Blake. As you heard, there are many pieces of film dialogue used on the soundtrack album. And though it makes for a fun listen, I do wish there was a release that didn't have them so that we could have them both ways. And since we closed that last block off with Michael Kamen, I figured we'd continue down that path and open the next one with a handful of cues that Kamen composed with a legendary rock and blues guitarist who was once referred to as God by his fans. We just heard an extended block of music composed by rock and blues guitar legend Eric Clapton. We kicked things off with a number of cues from the Lethal Weapon film series directed by Richard Donner, with music composed by Clapton in collaboration with Michael Kamen and jazz saxophonist David Sanborn. We heard They've Got My Daughter and SOB Knows Where I Live from 1987's Lethal Weapon, followed by Haunting Rudd from 1989's Lethal Weapon 2, and finally Armored Car Chase from 1992's Lethal Weapon 3. We then heard the cues Tracks and Lines, Will Gaines, and Prelude and Fugue, all composed by Eric Clapton for the 1991 film Rush. Of course, the Rush soundtrack is best known for featuring Clapton's iconic and multi-award-winning song Tears in Heaven. And the film itself surprisingly features a noteworthy and menacing performance by Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers Band. We then closed out this block with some music from the 1989 alien abduction film Communion, and the main theme Edge of Darkness from the 1985 British TV series Edge of Darkness, composed by Eric Clapton and Michael Kamen. Captured here live in concert featuring Michael Kamen conducting the National Philharmonic Orchestra from Clapton's legendary 24-night residency at London's Royal Albert Hall in 1990 and 91. And we didn't even get to all of his scores. Turns out that Clapton was very busy working on film music in the late 1980s and 1990s. Now, sadly, we are out of time. I appreciate your making the effort to accompany me on this exploration of film music composed by Rockstars, and I hope you tune in next time as we continue this exploration with even more music of the same ilk. If you've been enjoying Score to Death Radio, please take the time to spread the word on social media, and consider reviewing the show over in Cinematic Sound Radio's Apple Podcasts/iTunes page. If you'd like to keep up with all things Score to Death, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Score to Death. And if you'd like to check out my in-depth interviews with 30 amazing film music composers, please pick up copies of my books, Score to Death, Conversations with Some of Horror's Greatest Composers, and Score to Death 2, More Conversations with Some of Horror's Greatest Composers, which are available in both paperback and ebook. I'm Jay Blake Fischera, and you've been listening to Score to Death Radio on the Cinematic Sound Radio Network. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Cinematic Sound Radio Podcast. I want to thank Tim Burton for providing his voice for all the bumpers you hear throughout the program, and to David Coscina for providing Cinematic Sound Radio's theme music. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at cinematicsound@yahoo.com. You can find us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And wherever you're listening to us today, please take a moment right now to leave us a rating and a review of the podcast. You can get a Cinematic Sound Radio t-shirt at our TeePublic store. You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/cinematicsoundradio. And don't forget to check us out on the web at cinematicsound.net.